Yeah, what's going on? Dakota Franson here, founder of the Bald Bonkers Network. I keep telling myself that I'm trying to get back on here a little bit more, to chat with y'all, to let y'all know what's been going on. But unfortunately, I've set myself into a certain habit, and I am unfortunately very bad about that. So, that's on me, but I did want to kind of pop on here because there's been some activity within the circles that I've been known to associate with that caught my concern. And I feel that this is an appropriate opportunity just to get the discussion going. I'm not here to scream and yell, call somebody a dumbass or a stupidiot or any of that. As you can probably tell, I'm recording in my car, so that's why things are looking a little funky. The thing is, what I've been seeing a lot of in these circles is a lot more infighting than usual. And let's face it, anybody who usually knows what the hell they're talking about gets hit with these often outlandish, complete BS stories from people who can't even bother to show their faces online. And this pattern and how easy it is for people to get sucked into this drama. I've been a victim of it. I'm not trying to paint myself as being above all, you know. If you look at a lot of the main figures in a lot of these supernatural circles, I'm still a youngster. Many of them are practically old enough to be my parents. Some old enough to be my grandparents. Some who actually kind of remind me of my grandparents. In a good way. In a good way. But I digress. What I'm seeing a lot of is can probably be associated to hurt egos, right? And it happens all over the place. I've had people try to make accusations about me in order to cause interpersonal conflicts when in reality that person can't understand why no one wants to be around them. And there's also people who try to poke fun at the fact that I utilize AI, trying to insinuate that I'm trying to hide something. Here's my face. Where's yours? When dealing with the public, it is one of the most volatile groups out there. And it tests your mental capacity because people take this anonymity and they can become quite vicious. And it's not difficult. In fact, it is scary how easy it happens for our own stresses to get projected on what's going on around us. Artificially inflating situations beyond the severity. Inflating things that could probably be solved with a quick little text, a few minutes outside. Just random little examples from shit I've seen last few weeks. I'm not labeling anything specific, but basically things that could take just a few mere moments to just dust off figure out what's going on, then go about our day, right? This goes to show, I believe this goes to show the state that mankind is in altogether. Because I've also noticed that there are some individuals who seem to be concerned, for lack of a better word, due to potential political motives that I've expressed within the last few months. I promise I'm going to tie all this up in one point. I believe right now, mankind as a whole can be described as our mentality can often be described as in its adolescence. We're growing, we're starting to realize our potential. It's intimidating. But at the same time, when we see all of these little, say, like group chats or whatever, all these forces rallying together to create these clubs, these cliques, again, the mentality of adolescence. It's the mentality of adolescence. We're in a time where we're starting to realize our potential, but we're not wanting to be alone in this journey. So we're trying to find others that have some part of their journey seems to line up with the part in the journey we're at. The paths converge in a seemingly natural way. But the biggest problem is that we are so desperate to maintain these connections that we sacrifice our own individuality. One of the more recent books that got put out to press through the publication arm of Bald and Bonkers dives into discussion dictating hive mind and tribe mind. Now, often when we think of hive minds, if you're in the ET circuits, you may think of the Greys. If you're into bugs, a hive mind is something that you would associate with a lot of insects. Okay? A hive mind mentality is betterment of collective, the entirety of the species. Whereas a tribe mentality, yes, it does focus on well-being of the group, but it allows for a lot more individuality. Every member of the tribe contributes their own strengths. Okay? And it is completely natural to want to find your tribe, your soul group, your sense of family, friends. Because historically speaking, regardless of how you view human evolution, every version of mankind's history, whether you follow it in the mainstream or you follow it in the more fringe areas, every version of the story involves the potential of what happens when people start working together. More often than not, it's considered the first indication of civilization is when you find evidence of a healed bone fracture. Because that meant, with most animals, if an animal breaks a bone, they're done for. They're left alone by their tribe, they're seen as weak, they're fed to the predators. Whereas if you see healing, that means there had to be some conscious effort to stay with that individual, to provide them the necessary resources for them to stay alive, so that they can heal and become better. What is my point with all this? It is kind of scatterbrained because I've kind of recording this as it rolls off the tongue, and it's just a few minutes till 2 a.m. for me right now as I'm recording this. The point is that while we are on this journey, we must not sacrifice what it is that makes us human, what it is that makes us feel. But we must also not sacrifice the higher functions. Because the purpose of evolution is the fact that we as a species have free will, regardless of how it may seem. And unfortunately, there's individuals who choose to use that free will for harm. There's individuals who have developed such an understanding for how the human brain works that they utilize resources such as social media influencers, gurus, celebrities, all sorts. It's not just the U.S. doing it. It's not just the Democratic Party. It's not just the Russians doing it. Everybody's doing it in some form. And something I've always said is that every major resource, every major political movement, every ideal, every interest that gathers a large enough potential, a large enough following, is compromised by default. Because we want to utilize this opportunity, this connection, to feel like we belong to something bigger. And that potential is what separates us from the animals. It's what puts us into uncharted waters. It puts us in this state of confusion, turmoil. It's what makes the human being human. Because even though there are certain paths that are going to be rough, you're going to come through times in periods in life where it seems like absolutely nothing's going for you. It seems like everybody's out to get you. That's part for the course that you are able to do something so much greater. And for those who are facing certain hardships, I'm not going to name anything specific. I'm not going to bring in the more controversial activities I've been involved in lately, because people automatically assume it's for political reasons. No, the only political following I have, and it's the main thing that I think everybody who puts themselves out into the public needs to follow, needs to stick with, and remind themselves time and time again. The part that we need to remember most is that with this potential, we must eventually contribute what it is that gives us our strength back to the tribe, so everyone can grow. And sometimes what fosters that growth can be some of the most heartbreaking instances we can ever face. That is all I have for you today. Like I say, it's kind of scatterbrained, I know. It's barely 2 a.m. And I'm just barely getting off from work, so I'm a little out of it. But before I go, so there's a lot of exciting new projects. And yeah, I know some people find it a little suspicious that I use AI. Hey, gotta keep track of its progress somehow. This shit's evolving like crazy, and unfortunate. And by applying my knowledge, my skill set, I can sometimes predict where people are going to misuse it. But it's not going to go anywhere, so we may as well figure out how to adapt. So, What's coming up with Bald and Bonkers? There's a number of new books. I put out a little video that showed some of the covers. There's even more in ready. There's a kids series that's going to get ready to come out that I know is going to cause some controversy, but that's par for the course. New album coming out July 4th from yours truly. And yes, you actually hear me sing. Though the audio mixing processes, which does include a little bit of some AI, does alter how my voice sounds. But again, it's a way to monitor the progress. All sorts of new projects coming up. You haven't scared me off quite yet. I just chose to focus on the work. And when it's time, we'll have something for the public. More developments are going to be coming soon. Much love. Take care. I'll see y'all next time.